Take a look at the Wednesday papers. We're joined now by Geoff Lake, the President of the Australian Local Government Association. Jeff, good morning.
Good morning.
What's on your list today?
Well, Parliament's back, and
yes,
it was a day of drama yesterday in the Commonwealth Parliament. A bizarre situation where we had Liberal members of Parliament backing the National candidate for Speaker, Labor members of Parliament backing the Liberal candidate for Speaker, and in the end that person, Peter Slipper, prevailing.
Now, he's always had a rather unkind moniker around Parliament House, which is Slippery Pete, because he does tend to go his own way. He's not giving too much away about why he actually did it.
No, well, it looks like the Labor Party room was told that there may be a chance that there had been a bit of a deal done between the Labor Party and Peter Slipper. I guess time will tell whether there is any underhand deal that perhaps Peter Slipper's leader, Tony Abbott, doesn't know about. But certainly we'll be watching with interest. And the other thing we'll be watching is whether Peter Slipper manages to stay awake, because he's got a bit of a reputation for nodding off at times in the House. And obviously as Speaker, he's not going to be able to get away with that as readily as he might have been able to as
absolutely
a bit of a backbencher.
not in the big chair. Kevin Rudd was a bit unkind about that. We'll have a look at the front page of The Age. I think the headline there is Gillard snookers Libs over key role. That's something that, that for one, Joe Hockey was denying last night at 7 Report, saying this isn't a win for the government. Do you think it is? Well,
I think both sides are spinning this all over the place, but what has happened clearly has been a candidate from the Liberal Party with Labor backing has prevailed over the rest of the coalition party room. I think all of the coalition, except for two people, presumably Peter Slipper and one other who we don't know who it is, voted for the coalition candidate Bruce Scott. Yep. But because of the Labor numbers, presumably the support of the independents, and Peter Slipper and one other coalition backbencher or member of Parliament, their candidate has been defeated. So it's going to be interesting. I mean, it sets the scene for what will be a very interesting knife-edge parliament over the next 3 years, if it lasts that long.
What sort of deal may he have done? What's in it for Peter Slipper to be Deputy Speaker?
Well, it looks like Peter Slipper won't be seeking to run at the next election, so there's a bit of a pay increase for being Deputy Speaker. There's a few privileges, get a bigger office, so maybe it's just a good way to sail out of Parliament for your last couple of years before you head into retirement with your parliamentary pension. And
a deal of power and authority that goes with that, and maybe a little bit of payback to those people in the coalition that he's had a problem with for some time. The Herald Sun you're looking at as well this morning.
Yeah, well, we're continuing to see lots of negative articles about the Commonwealth Games. The Herald Sun are leading today with a story that out of 1.7 million Commonwealth Games tickets that are still available, only 200,000 have been sold. They're also saying that of the 100,000 people that were expected to travel to India for the Commonwealth Games, probably only about 10,000 of those are expected to turn up now. So it's continuing to be a PR disaster for the Commonwealth Games. News Limited papers, interestingly, are particularly leading with negative stories. I noticed in The Age today, more on their online website rather than in the actual newspaper, they're starting to produce some quite positive stories, focusing on the athletes for a change rather than the administrative problems that are plaguing the Games, and starting to, I guess, create a bit of excitement and expectation around the performance of some of the Australian athletes.
Is there an official sponsor in the print media? Because I know that some networks that have the Games tend to be a little bit kinder in the preparation.
I wondered that, and also I'm not sure if Fairfax Radio might be covering the Games,
right,
and obviously it would make sense if The Age is trying to create some public interest in the Commonwealth Games, because you'd have to say that with all the negative publicity over the last week or 2 weeks or so, I'm sure Channel 10, which has the rights to the Games and will be broadcasting them for the next couple of weeks, is not looking forward to the prospective ratings that you'd say are likely to happen as a result of the controversy that we've seen for the last few weeks.
Now, we've got a legal battle ensuing between elements of the media, and this involves Channel 7 and the ABC's very own Media Watch. I should say from the beginning that Channel 7 has warned other media outlets not to repeat what it argues were the defamations contained in that report, but I think we can do a broad brush of them.
Yeah, we won't repeat the allegations, but yeah, they sent a legal letter around to all media yesterday warning that they also might have action taken against them if they repeat the claims that were read on Media Watch. I just think it's interesting.
But we should talk about what it goes to, though, nonetheless, despite that warning, which is a Media Watch report on Monday night devoted the entire show to a report out of India by 7 that was suggesting that the security was so lax there that the reporter was able to get into through the security cordon a device which was potentially part of a detonation series of devices that could explode a bomb. And the Media Watch called it a beat-up, the story.
Yeah, that's right. And Media Watch devoted the whole show to it on Monday night. It was quite explosive. I think people who watched it, will have developed their own view as to, whether it was acceptable or not acceptable conduct on Channel 7's part. I guess the good thing, I think, though, is that if this is tested in court, hopefully we will get to the bottom of the allegations that were aired on Monday night, because if those allegations are true, it's a serious matter that I think the public has a right to be able to know the truth on.
Well, that was clearly Channel 7's line, was it? Yeah. This is a matter of public interest, and that's why they went with the story.
What's Channel 7 saying now about that Media Watch report?
Well, they strongly deny the allegations.
Because
they say
often members of the media just try to ignore if they're on Media Watch and forget about it. But
that's right.
Obviously this is different.
Yeah, it's unusual they've stepped up on this one.
Yeah. And, I mean, it's rare that you see journalists suing journalists. Quite often it's politicians threatening to sue journalists, but nothing ever coming of it. But it's not the first time, though, that a journalist has sued Paul Barry, who's the host of Media Watch. Richard Carlton in 2002 was actually able to prove that he had been defamed, but the court in the ACT on that occasion ruled that hadn't actually suffered any damage, and it was well within Paul Barry's rights in expressing his opinion to be able to make the claims that he made back then against Richard Carlton.
And let's just finish this morning on Paul Keating getting away with something that maybe not many of us might.
Well, a triumph for the ordinary person is how Paul Keating described being let off a minor parking or a minor traffic infringement.
Running a red light, I think it was.
Running a red light, and it's interesting. So we had basically Paul Keating's word against the word of 2 police officers who essentially accused the former Prime Minister of lying about claiming that the light wasn't red when Paul Keating travelled through it on Australia Day in Sydney earlier this year. So, look, Paul Keating's said that this is a message to common, ordinary folk, that if you believe that you've been wrongly issued with a parking fine or a speeding ticket or a red light infringement, go to court, challenge it, say your side of the story, create reasonable doubt, and the magistrate might let you off.
Oh, the courts are going to be full of us.
Well, it's the first thing you think about when you get a fine is, I'm going to fight this and get out of it. Usually lasts me about 10 seconds, and I think...
And then you write the cheque.
Yep, it's not worth the stress.
Geoff Lake, always good to see you. Thank you.
Thanks for having me.